What's up, everybody? Good Monday afternoon. I come bearing some more Seahawks news. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN went on 710 with Jake Heaps to elaborate on some of the things that he has said in recent times about the Seahawks and to inform us about what the direction of the organization is at the moment. So, I've got some tweets from Brandon Gustafson, and he goes into a little bit of detail about what Fowler had to say this morning on the radio. So I posted a video this morning wondering what Fowler's recent comments about the Seahawks being on the receiver market may have meant. Well, he's given us some context, and I will say of the things that this possibly could have been, I think this is probably my favorite. So, the Seahawks are calling around for second tier wide receivers who'd cost $8 to $10 million annually. He says that he now believes they're looking more for a supporting cast type of wide receiver to pair with Lockett and Metcalf in the passing game. So, there are still a couple different ways to look at this. But this seems to put to bed the notion that we're going to try to make some massive shift at the receiver position. Obviously, we're married to Lockett for at least 2, maybe 3 years, but this also seems to indicate that Metcalf is not going to be moved, which I did float as a possibility this morning, but I never really thought it was likely, and I didn't want to do it. So, this is probably my preferred way in which the Seahawks would be involved in the wide receiver market. Now, here's my question. Are we done with D'Wayne Eskridge already after one injury-laden year? Are we already thinking like, okay, we've seen enough, this guy's not it? Or are we trying to do what teams in our division, like the Cardinals and the Rams did, and go really deep at receiver? Because you look at the Cardinals, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Rondell Moore. They went 4 deep with guys that they really liked and really trusted and really believed in. The Rams, Robert Woods, Odell Beckham. I know they never played at the same time, but they didn't know that when they got Odell. Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson. Both those teams went 4 deep with receivers. Maybe the Seahawks are looking at those two teams and they're going like, you know what? We need to do a little better than Freddie Swain. We need somebody who we really can trust to be our 3 receiver, and then we're still going to use Eskridge a lot as the number 4 receiver. So maybe that's all it is, but it's not exactly a big vote of confidence for D'Wayne Eskridge, is it? If we're really thinking about getting a receiver who is going to cost in that $8 to $10 million range, that implies some degree of belief that D'Wayne Eskridge is not the guy. And what was already looking like a pretty forgettable pick is going to turn into a disastrous pick, because I don't even need to tell you who we passed up to get Eskridge. You guys already know. Now, as for the receivers that are going to be available this offseason who would cost that $8 to $10 million range, there are obviously a lot of them. They're going to be a lot of them are older guys who are going to be getting, 3rd and 4th contracts, and they're just trying to find a situation that's good for them. T.Y. Hilton is somebody who's probably going to fall in that price range. Emmanuel Sanders just had a pretty good season with Buffalo, but he's about to turn 35. He's probably going to be in that range. A.J. Green will probably be in that range. He's coming off a good year, but he's going to turn 34, so there's definitely going to be some resistance to giving him a big contract. And then you also have guys that are a little more under the radar and haven't had their big seasons yet, but they've done enough to where they can earn that $8 to $10 million because they haven't entered their prime yet, or they're entering their prime. Guys like Keelan Cole, guys like Zay Jones. He had a pretty decent season for the Raiders last year. Cedric Wilson's probably going to get some money this offseason because he just had 600 yards with the Cowboys. You could maybe go get a guy like a Josh Reynolds. I actually talked about the possibility of the Seahawks getting him last year. Maybe Odell, but it's sounding like Odell's going to stick in L.A. But if he shakes free, he's a guy you could take another shot at. I'm kind of a D.D. Westbrook guy, but Obviously, the production's not there. Maybe the most interesting guy, the guy with the most upside that you could maybe get for about 8 to 10 million a year would be DJ Chark. But, we could scroll through this list all day and find guys that are probably going to fall in that $8 to $10 million a year range. Michael Gallup, it sounds like his extension with the Cowboys is imminent, but if he were to somehow fall through and become a free agent, you'd probably be looking at about 8 to 10 million with a year for him as well. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a guy who very realistically could end up in that range as well. So there are a lot of guys. You can definitely find somebody you're into. I will say that spending that kind of money on another receiver does kind of take away from what you can do at other areas. But maybe we feel like this is the best way to help Wilson. There was a Field Goals article yesterday about this, or the other day, where they talked about how the best way to help Wilson might not be to improve the offensive line. It might be to get him another receiver that he trusts. So, Fowler went on to say a couple of other things that I want to quickly cover in this video, but the receiver thing was the main consideration. I may end up doing a video in the near future about possible receiver targets. So Fowler also said that Quandre Diggs likely won't be tagged, but he heard the Seahawks really do want him back on a long-term deal. The deadline for tagging a player is in less than 24 hours. It comes up, I think, at 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. So if we do not have anybody tagged by then we can't use it. So if we're not going to tag Diggs, we're probably not going to tag anybody. There are a couple other guys you could consider tagging, like DJ Reed, and I guess Gerald Everett, and I guess Rashad Penny. But if we're not going to use it on Diggs, I don't think there's a lot of sense in using it on anybody. Maybe we throw it on somebody that we know we don't want to lose, so we can work on a long-term extension for a little longer. We could throw... Apparently, and I haven't really heard this, but people have said there's a rumor that we're going to franchise tag Penny. There's no way we would franchise tag Penny and just leave the tag on him. We would tag him to trade him or tag him to extend him before the tag actually takes effect. So, doesn't seem like we're going to use the tag at all. If we're not going to use it on Diggs, then the only way we would use it would be to just keep a guy around a little bit longer, which is possible, but we're going to know in about, 22 hours or so whether or not we've actually done that. As for the Diggs part of this equation, I like the fact that we're not tagging him, because to me the only way he comes back, and I'm comfortable with it, will be if he's been able to test the market and found out he's not getting the money that he thought he was going to. Diggs is a guy who's made it very clear he wants big money, and for Quandre Diggs, big money will be 40 mil over 3 years probably. We can't give him that. There's no way we can give him that and pull off all the other things we need to pull off. We need him to test the market, find out that the money's not there, and then have to come back and sign for 10 mil a year or less. And that's the only way I would be like, okay, I can see how this can work out for us. So I like it. I think we have a lot of guys, outgoing free agents on this team, that need to test the market. And we're a week away from legal tampering now. These guys are going to get a chance to test the market almost certainly. If we don't have an extension on them now, we're probably not going to have one on them until after free agency starts. So hopefully guys like Diggs, guys like Reed hit the market, don't get the money they were expecting, and then come back and sign for less than they're asking for right now. Final thing from Fowler would be this. Hawks have admitted they're picking up the phone about Wilson, and that has impacted how many calls they're getting about the quarterback. So I guess what he's saying is that because the Seahawks have admitted they're taking calls on Wilson, by which I'm not that they're trying to shop him, but the fact that they're at least willing to listen to offers has increased the number of offers they're getting from other teams, which I don't really consider this to be all that newsworthy at the moment. It is worth pointing out the fact that these offers are probably going to get bigger and better as time goes by. And it's possible that you will see some Godfather offer from a QB desperate team a little after free agency starts, but before the draft. But realistically, I just still, I'm not seeing the interest from this organization on moving him right now. I'm not. And I'll talk more about that a little later, but I guess this is a little bit interesting. It implies that there are a lot of teams that are ringing up the Hawks, trying to get them to agree to some kind of trade, and presumably those offers are going to get more appetizing. There was actually a rumor that the Washington offer from the Commanders, was somewhere in the realm of 2 first-round picks and a player. If that's actually the offer, and I kind of don't believe that was the actual offer because that's very underwhelming. If that was the actual offer, then it makes sense that we would turn it down even if we were considering moving Wilson because we're waiting for a better offer than that. We can definitely do better than that. So I guess it's still a consideration. I don't think it's worth talking about because there are so many barriers to it actually happening. But hey, there you go. If you're somebody who's still wondering if this is still on the table, I guess you can put it at the right angle in the light. You can hold it up, and if it's the full moon, you might be able to see an angle where it actually goes through, but too much needs to happen. That's kind of still how I feel about it. That's about it for this one. Let me know what you guys think down below. Spending money on a receiver was not what I had in mind this offseason. I'm hoping that it's not because we're already giving up on Eskridge. I know it was a rough rookie year for him, but I think it's too early to do that. I don't see any reason why you would do that. He showed something in a few of those games. It was just kind of a lost rookie year for him. Hopefully this is just trying to get 4 deep at receiver the way teams like the Rams and Cardinals are. But yeah, that's all for now. See you guys later. See you on Twitch tonight. Go Hawks.